Welcome into the Sporting News 2023 NBA Mock Draft. I am the Sporting News draft analyst Kyle Irving, here to take you through the entire lottery, going through picks 1 through 14 with the NBA draft just weeks away. So without further ado, let's get started at the top. The San Antonio Spurs won the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, earning the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft lottery. And there's no surprise here, they will take the French phenom, the 7'5" center from Metropolitans 92, with the number 1 overall pick. Wembanyama has big shoes to fill as the third number 1 overall pick in Spurs history, joining David Robinson and Tim Duncan, 2 Hall of Famers who were able to take the Spurs from the basement of the league to the playoffs in their rookie seasons. Wembanyama is coming into this rookie season as a very decorated player, winning MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Best Young Player. He won the scoring title and the blocks title in the LNB Pro A League over in France this past season. He's a generational prospect, a can't-miss talent, and Wembanyama is a shoo-in to go number 1 overall this year. The draft truly starts at the number 2 pick with the Charlotte Hornets, who are faced with a tough decision between G League Ignite guard Scoot Henderson and Alabama forward Brandon Miller. Even though Miller might feel like the better fit on paper because he's a scoring wing, I feel like Scoot Henderson is the type of can't-miss prospect that would go number 1 overall in most drafts that don't have a 7'5" unicorn standing at the top of the draft board. Henderson's work ethic is unmatched. He's a relentless competitor. He improved as a playmaker. He's a knockdown shooter. He's an explosive athlete when he gets downhill to the rim. And even though there are valid concerns about having 2 ball-dominant guards like LaMelo Ball and Henderson, I feel like they can both play off-ball to complement each other's skill sets nicely. So even though Miller would make sense for the Hornets here, I have Charlotte taking Scoot Henderson, who to me is the clear number 2 best prospect in this class. The draft gets even more interesting with the number 3 pick in the Portland Trailblazers, and I have them selecting Alabama forward Brandon Miller for now. The reason I say for now is because there's already trade rumors circling that the Blazers are trying to move off of this pick to build around Damian Lillard and maximize that championship window. If Portland does stand pat and take this pick, I think Miller is the type of player that could complement Lillard's game pretty well right away. Miller is one of the best 3-point shooters in this class. He can shoot off of movement. He can defend multiple positions. He's someone that I think could contribute to winning right away, and he has the future of being a multi-time All-Star down the line. So if Portland does stand pat, Brandon Miller would be the right pick if he is the guy that's available after the Hornets select at number 2. At number 4, I have the Houston Rockets selecting Amen Thompson, a 6'7" guard out of Overtime Elite. Amen will be one of 2 Thompson twins to hear their names called in the top 10 of this draft, and I feel like he's a great fit for the Rockets because Houston finished with the 2nd worst defense in the NBA last season. Amen is a tenacious on-ball defender. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in this class, and what separates him from his brother in a fit for the Rockets is that he's a little bit better with the ball in his hands as a playmaker. If you draft Amen Thompson alongside Jalen Green, Houston starts to build their backcourt of the future as they look to rebuild quickly. At number 5, I have the Detroit Pistons selecting Cam Whitmore, a freshman forward out of Villanova. Pistons fans might be discouraged they missed out on the number 1 pick after having the worst record in the NBA, but I feel like Whitmore perfectly complements this roster. He's the type of versatile forward that every NBA team is looking for. He's a powerful athlete. He does a ton of damage as a cutter. He can defend multiple positions, and he has a growing offensive game. Put him next to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren, and the Pistons are starting to build a promising young core to contend down the line. At number 6, I have the Orlando Magic selecting Overtime Elite guard Asar Thompson. Thompson had a super productive season in the OT this past year, winning MVP, Finals MVP, and a championship with the City Reapers. He's one of the best all-around defenders in this class with a 6'7" frame and a reported 7-foot wingspan. He's an explosive athlete, and he gets downhill with his quick twitch athleticism, knifing through opposing defenses. He's the type of guard that could give the Magic the depth they need alongside their young core of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr. At number 7, I have the Indiana Pacers selecting Houston freshman forward Jarris Walker. When you watch Walker play, he looks more like an edge rusher than a basketball player. At 6'8" with a 240-pound frame, he's extremely overpowering, but he also moves fluidly on his feet. Walker is one of the best interior defenders in this class, but he can also step out onto the perimeter and defend there as well. He's a leaping lob threat, and I really think he'd complement Miles Turner in the front court for a terrorizing defensive presence, and Tyrese Halliburton in the pick and roll on the offensive end. At number 8, I have the Washington Wizards selecting Anthony Black, a freshman out of Arkansas. Black is a jumbo point guard at 6'7". He can operate any type of offense the Wizards need, running a pick and roll, pushing the tempo in transition, and he can defend at a high level on the perimeter. The Wizards have been looking for a point guard ever since John Wall left, and they could get that in Anthony Black at number 8. At number 9, I have the Utah Jazz selecting Cason Wallace, a freshman guard out of Kentucky. The The Jazz should feel good about their front court of the future in Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler, and Wallace will give them the floor general they need to start building out their backcourt. Wallace is a reliable playmaker, a tenacious perimeter defender, and he's a developing scorer as well. With the recent success stories of Kentucky guards like Tyler Herro, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Jamal Murray, Wallace will look to fall in line with the other guards that have played and succeeded at the NBA level from Big Blue Nation. At number 10, I have the Dallas Mavericks selecting Kansas freshman forward Grady Dick. Dick might be the best three-point shooter in this class, already proving to have NBA range. He can knock down shots with or without the ball in his hands, converting over 40% of his threes this past season. Playing alongside playmakers like Luka Doncic and potentially Kyrie Irving, Dick is the exact type of 3-and-D prospect that the Mavericks will be looking for. At number 11, I have the Orlando Magic targeting another guard in Keontae George, a freshman out of Baylor. George is a prolific scorer who's already an NBA caliber shot creator. He can score from all over the perimeter, and he plays with a level of confidence that feels like he's on the brink of a game breaker. That means that sometimes he forces shots and doesn't let the offense come to him, but that's the type of scoring prowess that the Orlando Magic need from the guard position that they don't have on the roster right now. At number 12, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder taking Taylor Hendricks, a freshman forward out of UCF. Hendricks has shot up mock draft boards over the entire draft process, and there's a chance he might not even be here for OKC. At 6'9", the four-stretching forward can knock down threes and defend multiple positions. With playmakers like Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he'll give them the three-point shooter they need from the 4 spot. At number 13, I have the Toronto Raptors selecting Jalen Hood-Schifino, a freshman out of Indiana. Toronto faces a couple tough offseason decisions, with Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. set to potentially hit free agency. That means they'll need a lead guard, and Hood-Schifino has already proved he can operate one of the NBA's most used offenses in the pick and roll. Hood-Schifino might need to button up his decision-making, but at 19 years old, the playmaker has all the tools to be the next lead guard in Toronto. Last but not least, at number 14, I have the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Jordan Hawkins, a sophomore out of UConn. Hawkins burst onto the scene during the NCAA tournament, shooting 50% from three-point range as he helped lead UConn to the national championship. Hawkins put on a clinic on how to shoot moving off of screens, but he can also stand in the corner and just knock down catch-and-shoot opportunities. He'll flourish next to scorers like CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson to help round out a championship court the Pelicans have been trying to build for years. For the rest of my 2023 NBA mock draft, head over to thesportingnews.com where I'll have you covered with NBA draft analysis all the way up until draft night on June 22nd.